22 years. It has been 22 years since I have been committed to the same man. Married for 21. I finally have come to terms that having a wedding is not mandatory to be in a committed relationship. The reason why I want to talk about this today is because it is, for some people, a deal breaker. Like I have known of a few people who said that if I cannot have this white dress full blown ceremony, their relationship cannot happen for me. Like that's a deal breaker for me. And it's funny because it doesn't guarantee anything. If you're new here, hi, my name is Flor. I am Cuban and I have been living in Jamaica for 21 years. And although my content is usually talking about Cuba and Jamaica, my experience living in Jamaica, how everything went down in Jamaica. This video is going to be a little bit different, more geared towards relationships, but at the same time, it's still connected to Jamaica because the man which I did not have that white dress wedding with is a Jamaican man. Okay, let's start from the beginning. We got married. My husband was 20 years old and I was 19 years old. And you're probably thinking, my goodness, that is so young and whatever, whatever. But I am Cuban. I come from Cuba. And the culture in Cuba is different from many places. We start very young. When I was 19 years old, my 19 and 20-year-old friends were already married, not married, but in a committed relationship. Some of them even had two kids already. When I got married at 19 years old, I was kind of late to the marriage scene. Like I was almost there. Like when I met my husband, I was like, that's it. If I'm going to do everything that is in my hands to make this relationship work. Our marriage was very different because it's my kid in the background was very different because the reasons why we got married, yes, we love each other and we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. At that point we needed to get married so that I could leave Cuba with him. Now I want to make this very clear, okay? I have been married to my husband, legally married, signed a piece of paper for 21 years. So when I talk to you about the time when we got married, you have to time travel back to the 21 years. Okay? I am not talking about yesterday, last week, last year, 10 years ago. 21 years. I'm sure some of you watching this, I know yeah, I barely 21 years old. So that means that you're still in your mother's belly when my husband and I got married. So of course, certain things that I'm gonna be sharing are very different today when it comes to traveling Cuba and how and when and all the circumstances to leave Cuba. But back then, to be able to leave Cuba, you would have to be married to the person that you want to leave Cuba with. There were several options. If you have any parents living in that country, they could file for you. So if my mom and my dad were living in Jamaica, they could file for me. He could have also do an invitation letter for me, but that would have taken very long. And then I could have go to Jamaica and get married in Jamaica and all that shebang. But we decided to get married in Cuba so that way when I arrive in Jamaica, I could get my papers right away. I could work right away. To get married in Cuba as a Cuban marrying a foreigner was very difficult. We had to go through a lot to get married. So when the time came to tie the knot, my family was not present. It was just one of my mom's far friends and her husband that came in and served as witnesses. We didn't have a honeymoon, nothing like that. Right after we got married, he rented a car and we went to my grandmother's house. So everybody in my family had to get acclimated to the fact that I got married and I'm also leaving the country very soon. I didn't wear any white, nothing like that. I had some sunflowers in my hand. It was very stressful to his family also to acclimate to the fact that he got married and that there was not a wedding. And again, it is a result of the cultural differences. You see, in Cuba, marriage and a wedding is not a deal breaker or something that people dream so much about and want to have in their lives. There was a time back in the late 80s, early 90s, where the government in Cuba will provide wedding things. So you have like a store where you could go and rent all the wedding gowns and all the wedding everything, and the government will give you assignate you crates of beer and soft drinks and a cake. And that was a period where people started getting married just to get that advantage and get divorced like a couple of weeks after. So they will go and get all this stuff from the government providing things, motivating people to get married, to get the white dress and the white suit for the man and the cake and all of that. They will have the big party and everybody get drunk and everybody have fun. And a couple of weeks later, they separate because it was just a business transaction, just to enjoy that. And I really hope there's a Cuban watching this, although this is in English, and they can comment and say, yes, I remember those days. The same thing was for Sweet 15, Sweet 15, which is a birthday celebration. They also used to provide drinks and cake and all of that for that type of ceremonies. So for my experience growing up in Cuba, it was never a very serious endeavor. It is not, marriage in Cuba doesn't have the same significance that marriage has in Jamaica and United States. And I mentioned these two countries because these two countries are the only two countries I have lived in outside of Cuba. They just have common law, and then get married whenever it's necessary. Like if you're leaving the country or if you're getting old. Like my mom and my dad um were the same situation like my husband and I. They were together since they were teenagers. And then they got married like the year before I left Cuba, I think. So together for they were together for about 18 years before they got married. So, and it was the same situation. It was just to sign a piece of paper to say, yes, we're husband and wife. So legally we have the rights to this, that, whatever. There is no guarantee of a long lasting marriage just because you had a white dress, white gown wedding. And let's not get into the details of how much money these weddings are costing these days. Now, I know and I understand that there is a lot of girls out there who have this dream of a white gown and all these things. Like, I would love to have that too. Am I going to make not having that white gown wedding um prevent me from joining my lifetime partner? No. One of the biggest, most popular shows for, like what you will call like a chick flick, is Sex and the City. And there is a lot of good advice for women in Sex and the City. But unfortunately, it's like we tend to focus on the wrong ones. Okay. And when Sarah Jessica Parker planned this wedding with this dress and she was all over the magazine and whatever, 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 and her man never showed up. But then she ended up marrying him at the courthouse. Like, who cares? She realized that she forgave him. They got back together. She realized that she really love him. And you know what? We really don't need to do all of this. So it's a very good lesson to take from the show. Another lesson, another very valuable lesson from Sex and the City that we tend to ignore is, what's her name? I think it's Charlotte, like the really cute, 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 cute one, that was very rich. And she fell in love with this guy, and she was embarrassed of telling her friends his name was Harry. And he's also hairy and he's bald and all of that. So it just comes to show that love just happens, and we should open our hearts to love. And it doesn't matter if the man is short, if he's tall, if he's thick, if he's thin. I mean, watching all these pop the balloon shows, I love watching pop the balloon. It is a very interesting social experiment. And if you have never watched a Pop the Balloon show, I invite you to watch them. They have them all over the world. They have the Jamaican one, which is hilarious, American one, African one. They have them all over the world. I invite you to watch Pop the Balloon, and you will see these girls popping their balloons because the guy is too short, because he's too tall, because they don't like his shirt, because they don't like his shoes, they don't like how his pants are too tight, they don't like his hair, they don't like his cap, he's dressed like how her little brother dressed, like a lot of external clothing judgment that should not be preventing you from trying to get to meet a person and have a relationship with them. Which brings me to another point that I wanted to make, moving from the wedding part, is dating. And i I find dating very weird. Like, i um I am a strong believer of love at first sight, and just getting acquainted with people around you. And if there is any dating involved ever, I will go for something that doesn't require any monetary transaction whatsoever. Um, did I date my husband? I don't know. It depends on how, what you will call dating. Like, we met a couple of times before I moved in with him, and that was about it. But then again, in Cuba, culture is very different because we operate in a community level, and everybody is almost like enclosed in that town, so you already know everybody business. So if you like a guy, if you feel physically attracted to a guy, if you feel that attraction to a guy, you just did it with him, go home with him. He doesn't have to take you out. First of all, where he's gonna take you out in Cuba? Back then, there was nowhere to take you out in Cuba. Where you are go? He don't have to take you out and massage your shoulder and all them thing there, not like that. There was a saying when I was in high school that say, tú me gusta, yo te gusto, nos empatamos y se acabó. I like you, you like me, we together, and that's it. Like this, that was as simple as that. It was not so complicated back then. I don't know why right now everything is just so highfalutin, and we have so many requirements, and we need all of this from a guy. We need to wake up and come to our senses and come to reality and keep our priorities straight. And remember, say, a lot of the things that we see on television, it is manufactured to sell you something. Just imagine how many millions of dollars is the wedding industry worth. Just imagine how much money is put out every day on dates. You have to do your hair, your nails, your makeup, your lashes. You have to drive, go somewhere, you have to go there and spend the money to buy the expensive meal. So it is lucrative for industries to tell you that you should date, and you should go back out on dates, and you should don't be so picky, because you have to be picky, because if you're not picky, that means that you're not going to be going out in many dates. You understand? So it's just to try to keep that in mind. There is always a commercial value to all these things that we do, and unfortunately our relationships have been commercialized. Marriage has been commercialized. um, Whatever you will want to consider a dating process has also been commercialized. There is always something to pay in between woman and man relationship. It is very interesting to see that, um unraveling in front of our eyes. And I am looking at it from the outside because I am not dating. I don't have any interest on dating anybody. Again, I did not have a white dress, lavish wedding. I didn't even celebrate anniversaries or nothing like that. And at the end of the day, all them things there, it is an event. Yes, it's like a party that you're keeping to show the world that you love one another, and you have a wonderful time and the family come together and everybody tells you all these wonderful things about you and your spouse, and you get to see family members that you have not seen a very long time, and everyone eats the cake and you dance, and it's just a beautiful celebration of love and union. And if you have kids that will be there, or you plan on the kids that you're about to have, it is a beautiful event. So it's been 21 years, and it has not been easy 21 years of marriage and 22 years together, soon to be 23 and 22. I always prefer to count it since we first met and not since we signed the piece of paper, but a lot of people find that to be a crucial piece of information. But it has not been a bed of roses. It has not been easy for us. We have had a lot of cultural differences that he had to acclimate himself to, and I have to acclimate myself to. We were very young. We had absolutely nothing. And if you can watch the video where I explain to you how I changed careers, you will see how I was living in my mother-in-law house. Like, we had absolutely nothing. Right now, we can enjoy this lifestyle, traveling all over South America, and but back then we could not do that. So that meant that we had to compromise in a lot of things. There was many years, well, I would say not many years, it was many months where we didn't even had a stove in our studio apartment at Oaklands, where I got sick because I was eating pan chicken at 11 o'clock at night. That was my food. And my stomach, I got really, really sick. And the doctor looked at me and he said, "You know what you need? A stove." So we put some money aside and we finally bought a liquor stove, and I was able to cook at home. So we didn't even had that. That's how bad it was. So we had to focus our energy into many different things. And the relationship part of it was put in the background. So there was a lot of things, there were a lot of issues in our relationship at the very beginning that basically got swept under the rug, and then all of that resurfaced out, came out of the rug once all that monetary needs were met. And it was very difficult, and up to this day it's still difficult. We are both working on each other constantly, but one thing that is always constant in our relationship is the love that I feel for my husband, and the love that he feels for me, and the mutual respect that we have, and the mutual desire of being together, and how we're willing to do everything that is in our power to stay together and to have a happy, beautiful, loving relationship with ourselves and our kids. So if you are a girl watching this and there is this guy that you really love, and you see yourself as spending the rest of the life of your life with him, and he's just not into the puppy show, and he's just not into the white dress, and to be in the center of attention, and to being judged, and to be put under pressure to even sometimes get a bank loan to have a wedding. Don't pressure him. You can just sign a piece of paper, a courthouse, and you can still live happily ever after. Well, not that I live in happily ever after, but you can have a beautiful, happy relationship regardless if you have a white wedding or not. And it's something that you can do later on. You can celebrate your first anniversary, or you can celebrate your fifth anniversary, or your 10th anniversary, and your 15th anniversary, and your 20th, and all of them. I haven't celebrated any of them, You can do your white dress and all of that when you reach that place in life where you are both financially stable, and you have your kids and everything is already met, and you are in the right path and you are solid as a couple. Can you imagine? And then you get everybody together, and then you have that ceremony, that celebration of your love that has been going on for so many years. I do know a lot of people who have had a white wedding that are still together. They have a beautiful relationship, but I know more people who did not have a white wedding who are still together after so many, 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 many years. So let me know in the comments, do you think that having a white dress wedding solidifies or say anything of how successful your relationship will be? Let me know in the comments. I really hope that you and the love of your life have a beautiful, romantic one. Thank you all so much for watching. Much love.